this is Zoe Tant, the Tantalizing Stamper. I'm sharing a video linked to the Totally Techniques blog hop today. We're all showing you different versions of the faux torn edge technique so that you can create cards similar to this. You'll see that the torn edge is here and here, and then I've added some stamping and texturing and some heat embossing and a flower just to finish off my card. But what I'm going to show you is the basic torn edge technique in two slightly different but similar ways, and then obviously you can go away and have a go. It's really simple. All you need is a piece of cardstock that you're going to ink and stamp on, and a piece of copy paper. You could use old grid papers and things, but you just need to be careful that the ink doesn't come off when it gets wet with all the other inks that are going on. So to start off with this way, all you want to do is tear the piece of paper as interestingly as you can, if there is such a thing. I'm actually going to turn it that way, and we'll use the lines on the grid paper just to get it that piece straight, although obviously the edge isn't. And then I'm going to add this piece here and this piece up there. And I'm also going to use a little bit of washi tape just to hold those in place, because it is just paper and it will move, and my hands probably aren't quite big enough to hold both in place. See if we can catch both of those. And also you need to be careful with the edges, because as you can see they'll come up. But to combat that, on this particular version I'm going to use sponge brayers that I can then go across it to add the ink. So I'll start off. I've used colours from the Brights. It's mainly so that you can see on the video, but also you can use any combination of colours that you want to. You can get away with just one brayer, because the colours I'm using, they work up sort of thing. So I'm going from a green all the way up to a more defined blue, and therefore I can just, as long as I don't want to go back and add any colour, I suppose I can use the other brayer then, but I'm just going to use the one. So I'm starting off with some green, and I've got Granny Apple Green. I'm just pulling the brayer over the ink pad, and then I'm actually going to take off a little bit, but then come in and just go across the card between the two pieces of paper. And you'll see it's a little bit grainy and it takes a little while to build up the colour, but once you've got some, you can just use the sponge itself and pressurise it a little bit harder to get the detail that you want, or the intensity of colour that you want. I might want a bit more on the edge there, but just watch these edges, because as you can see they're going to flick up very easily. But it's quite fun and it's easy to do, not too messy if you keep your fingers out of the way. Second colour, Coastal Cabana, again picking it up the ink and then just adding it gently into different places. The nice thing about this is you can just build up colour however you want. It doesn't need to be too precise. You can also use the brayer, as you've got the control with the handle, and just sponge it around. So it just makes it quite interesting. Okay, just got to watch we don't move too much. Ooh, see, I haven't taped my card down, so we have to be careful. Then the last colour I've got that I'm using here is Bermuda Bay with a brayer, and again I'm going to bring that over there. Make these edges a little bit more defined. So it's just a hodgepodge really of colour, and you can do whatever you want. You could just do one colour, you could leave white patches, it's entirely up to you. That's the nice thing. And Then you'll see with my original card, I've added the stamping as I said, and I've used the Timeless Textures stamp set because it does have lots of texture stamps, so you can do all sorts of things with it. For example, you could use this one, which if I ink up with Bermuda Bay, I could just stamp the whole thing. I could stamp it off to get less colour, but what I could also do is use my finger, and this is where, if you're a bit of a messy freak, you might not be keen, but you could just use a bit of kitchen roll or something. But if I pop that on there, you'll see it doesn't give the whole image. So if we stamp it off this time, make it a bit paler, again use your finger, and then just come in with little bits. So you get gaps and you can build up, and obviously as the more you stamp, the paler it becomes. I've also got this, oops, this one is also from the Timeless Textures. It's a bit like a bottom of a coffee cup stain, and I've got Pacific Point with that. I'm going to stamp it off and again, and just see how it turns out on my page. I'm quite happy with that. So I'll do another one over here, and then I might do one that's actually full colour just to get a bit more depth and detail. So you can build it up, you can then emboss on it, do whatever. If you keep these masks in place, then you keep the faux torn edge on the outside, and then you can obviously put that onto your card and do whatever you want. So if we just peel those away, you'll see what's happened. There we go. Ooh, the big reveal. As I said, it's bold and bright, a little bit of fluffy dust. Just be careful you don't then smudge. You can do whatever you want, but you get this torn edge effect. Okay, this second time I'm going to use a piece of card as my mask. I want it to be a little bit more sturdy, so this is just a piece of scratch card that I had, and I'm going to place that across. Now ideally you don't want this to move, as you can see it's quite slippy. So what we could do is use a little bit of washi. If we roll it in a circle, you remember when you used to stick things on the wall as a child? Roll it in a circle, stick it on the back, and then pop it down, and hopefully it won't cause too much of a ridge there. Then we've got our piece of card, which is the mask. We're going to pop that across like this, and this time I'm using a sponge, and I'm using Coastal Cabana, except that's Coastal Cabana, not Bermuda Bay. Get some ink, take off the excess, and then make sure you're keeping your fingers firmly on here to keep the mask as well as your actual project firmly in place. Again, it's pretty flexible on how much colour or detail you want to put on. I've managed to get a little smudge there, so I'll try and work that through, but it just adds to it. You know, it's not a precise process at all, so it's a little bit of more of a mixed media look to it, so it doesn't really matter. So we'll then take that off, we move our ink pad out of the way, bits of fluff, and then if we reverse it and move this up here, okay, and now you won't be holding it upside down like me, so you need to make sure that you get a firm grip, and again bring in the colour all the way along your mask, take off the excess, and you'll see I've left a white gap. That's because I want to put some flowers in there and add different colours, so I want them to sort of pop out with the colour that I'm going to add. So we've got that. We'll move that out of the way so it doesn't smudge or go anywhere we don't want it to. And I've got the flower from Botanical Bliss and some black Stays On ink. If I start around the middle somewhere, so that I can then work out to the edges with the flower. If you rotate it slightly, it creates it a little bit more interest. And it doesn't hurt if you go off the edge, because that gives the impression that it's carrying on and going outwards. And so we have another one up here, and we perhaps have the leafy bit coming down there. So that's working out quite nicely. Now, I said about some more colour, so I've got another sponge and I've got some Granny Apple Green that I'm bringing back in. Again, I'm going to take off the excess on my scratch paper and then slowly add the colour to the flower, just to make it pop. Now, I know you don't always get green flowers, but it's a wowie sort of, you know, for somebody that loves colour, it'd be perfect. We'll do it in here as well. Makes them pop rather nicely. You could do this with Christmas cards, with an ornament or something, anything. Or for a chap, you can do some nice masculine colours with an image that suits your man, and then add another colour, and then we'll finally do a little bit on there just to finish that one off. Then all that is left is to add a sentiment, and I've got Friend, which is from the Botanical Bliss set itself. So I'll just ink that up again with some stays on because it's just handy and it's easy. That can then be popped onto a plain white card base or a coloured one, whichever you want. The other thing that would look quite nice, we have a little bit of Winker Stella, and it just highlights these extra little bits on these flowers. And what a simple card that this would be. Really quick and easy. All you need is ink and stamps and paper. Simple to do. Maybe a bit of Wink if you like it like me. For the colours and more information, or if you wish to purchase any of these products, you can visit my blog, which is on the screen, or visit my shop, www.zoetant.stampingup.net. Thank you for popping by, and do take a look at the other girls and their faux torn edge techniques. Thank you. Bye bye.